What's up? What's up? Coach Tony here. Welcome to Credit Success Secrets. You are here for this amazing masterclass about personal finance and credit as well, too. First off, can anybody hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. If not, let me know in the comments. If you can hear me, say yes in the comments so I know you are here and you can hear me loud and clear is one. Two, so first off, thank you for everyone for registering for this type of event. I am your college admissions expert, but today's topic isn't directly related to college admissions, but over the past few months, a lot of my students, a lot of them are going to college now. A lot of them just figuring out about money, and the idea of credit, personal finance keeps coming up. So I went out and found the best industry experts around credit, the Credit Brothers. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring them on. They're gonna do a quick introduction, and right after, we're gonna do our giveaway to reward all these action takers for being here on time. So without further ado, the very best in the industry, the Credit Brothers. Oh, I think you guys are muted.
Hey, what's going on, Tony?
There you go.
I believe I had my mic muted, but I think we're good to go. What's going on, everybody? I'm one half of the Credit Brothers, Josh. Tony, thanks for having us on. It's my brother, Chris.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having us.
If you are ready for some credit education, I know it's going to be a blast. It's going to be super fun. You can just let us know if you can hear us loud and clear in the comments. We are actually in a hotel right now, so we are just going to cross our fingers and hope we don't have any issues with like internet or anything throughout this. But, we're really excited for this, Tony. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Super. I'm super pumped as well, too. I saw your presentations like loaded with amazing information. So, right, to start us off nice and strong, I'm going to have you guys think of a fun little icebreaker question. What's a fun icebreaker question? That will be the giveaway topic for today as well, too. What's a quick, simple question you'd like to ask everyone attending here today?
That is a good one. So one that I would say is, quick question about credit. Icebreaker. So who knows how many national credit bureaus there are?
All right, so that's your icebreaker question for today. How many credit bureaus, bureaus, are there? And do hashtag CSS to enter the giveaway. We're giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. You do not need to get the answer correct, by the way. You just gotta try, right? We reward people who try. So then definitely just type your answer in the comments and do hashtag CSS. Right, and when this software is gonna pick one lucky winner in a bit. But right now, how many credit bureaus are there in America? You don't have to be correct. Wild guess, or if you know it, you can write the exact answer as well too in the comments in the chat. Hashtag CSS. Awesome. As you guys are doing that, quick thing so there is a 20-second delay between our stream and the chat as well too, so for all of us to be aware of. So we'll just probably you'll see like the comments are coming in now. Super awesome people are doing it. And I see people, if you have to enter the giveaway, you have to have hashtag CSS to be entered. So we have 10 entries so far. I'm gonna open up for another minute, and we're gonna find a lucky winner of a $50 Amazon gift card. And after that, I'm gonna let the Credit Brothers take over and teach you guys some amazing stuff as well too. So if you guys make sure you add hashtag CS on your thing. We have 12 entries so far. And for everyone else, 50. If you're already typed in your response, you're good to go. Go ahead and grab a notebook, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. For the next 30, 40 minutes, the Credit Brothers is going to spit a lot of knowledge really fast. Lots of I told them can you make this the most jam-packed 30 minutes ever? And so they went and found the best of the best information that caters exactly to you, high school and college students as well too. So go ahead, I'll give you guys another 30 seconds. Go ahead and grab a notebook, grab a pen, get ready to go. And then I'm gonna close off the raffle in 15 seconds. All right. And then in the meanwhile, let me get this up.
Like, who owns a credit card right now?
Oh.
All right. We're closing out the raffle. And the lucky winner of the $50 Amazon gift card is... Okay, yes, yes, can see the screen. The winner is Lynn. Lynn, you won the $50 Amazon gift card. Congrats. Feel free to message me after their presentation. You just won yourself a $50 Amazon gift card. All right, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and let the Credit Bros take over with their presentation today. Credit Success Secrets. Enjoy, everyone.
All right. Well, first off, just wanted to kind of see and test everyone's current credit experience right now. So who in this live stream right now has a credit card? Who has one right now, already applied, already has one going? And if so, which one is it? Just out of curiosity.
Drop your answers in the comments so we can kind of see where everyone actually is right now.
Yeah, because once I hit share, I'm not going to be able to really look at that.
He is.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yes, remember we're 20 seconds behind. So as people are answering, we're gonna let those answers start flowing. But we're gonna get going on this presentation in just another minute or so. We're kind of waiting to see some comments roll in. But like Coach Tony said, we're going to be going for anywhere from like 30 to 40 minutes. It's going to be a really good time. We're pretty much going to go over just about everything we feel is absolutely crucial for everyone in this stream right now to know as you make this huge transition going from high school into college. It can be a really, really great time. And it's absolutely perfect time to start building credit because you have all the advantage of starting as early as possible. So we're going to be going over all the things that you all need to know in order to be successful, not only in your overall financial journey, but specifically in how credit can play a role in that. So I'm seeing a few people kind of pop in here. They're saying that they only have a debit card,
which is awesome. All of you guys
only have a debit card.
Girls that have only a debit card, this is gonna be huge for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, debit cards are great. There's a lot of good things about them. But now that you're 18, if you're not 18 yet, then you hopefully will be soon. I remember when I was graduating high school, I was not even 18. I was 17 when I graduated, and then it was like a couple weeks after it was when I turned 18. So if anyone's not 18 yet, perfectly fine. Just take some notes. Like Tony said, get out a notebook. And feel free to kind of write down some of the stuff we'll be going after. But with all that said, I figure we can just kind of dive in. So this is the credit success presentation here. So this is a photo, obviously, of me. My name is Josh. Former electrical engineer. I went to college for 4 years, got my degree, ended up working in the industry for a while, in the defense industry. So I was working on, missiles and things like that. So, but I did make a transition into credit. I did get an 800 FICO score by the time I was 22. So I had been working on my credit for 3 years at that point. So it took me 3 years to get to like that all-knowing, 800 score. And alongside me is my brother, Chris.
How's it going, guys? So see, Josh has one half. I have the other half, and people always know me as the travel guy. So when I was younger, I used to go on these very, very elaborate vacations, and my parents would always spend a lot of money to do so. Or I'd go with my dad, for instance, and the trip would just cost a lot of money. And so that was very intriguing to be able to try to figure out how to travel at the same level of luxury per se, without having to spend that money. And so that's what actually got me into credit, was learning how to actually leverage credit and the credit card points and different credit cards to actually travel for free. And so right now we're actually in a hotel. We just flew from Boston to Texas. Our flights were 100% free. We're at 5 nights here at the Hyatt, all free as well. So that's
we're going to be getting into a lot of how we can do that a little later. But just if anybody's curious, we are on social media. Biggest platforms are TikTok and Instagram. So those are our profiles right there. If you want to give us a follow, stay up to date with us. If you like what we talk about now, we post stuff all the time, short little videos on TikTok, all sorts of stuff on Instagram. So if you want to give us a follow, would really appreciate that. And plus, you'll be able to learn a lot about stuff that we'll post about in the future. So with that said, we can just kind of kick it off with what has credit done for us. So just wanted to give you guys kind of like the end first to let you know that really what credit has done for us is it's really changed our lives. So first and foremost, it actually has created a second source of income for us. So in the bottom left, you can see what I was able to do throughout 2020 in terms of earning points in the amount of over $8,000. And that was through techniques that we actually teach our students that are a part of our inner circle. Once you get further down the line, you have your credit established. There's a lot of great things you can do with it. And that's an example is you can actually create a second source of income from it. And then Chris already started mentioning the free vacations.
Yeah, so that's I mean, as far as once you have really good credit, everything opens up. Like a lot of the beginning stuff of credit is super boring. It seems way over the top,
way too complicated.
A lot of cross information and things like that, especially with social media nowadays. But it's like once you have really good credit, the things you can do with it. Like I said, we put together this trip. It was going to cost approximately $2,000 for 5 days, and it was 100% free just because we were able to use the actual credit. Right now, we're actually leveraging credit for an investment deal through our credit cards and using the bank's money to actually go ahead and make passive income every month. And one of those deals that we put together is actually that Super Bowl photo there was a very, very specialized deal that we were only able to take advantage of because the person that we were lending the money to needed capital. And at the time when we were about a year and a half ago when we met this person, they needed, $30,000, $40,000 cash to actually invest with them. We did not have anywhere close to that money.
Yeah, let me reset that. I was in college at the time, so I was not. I barely had a couple $1,000s to my name. Never mind tens of thousands that this person was asking for. But because I had access to credit, because Chris had access to credit, we were able to step up to the plate and actually provide the capital that this person needed for a short period of time. We leveraged our credit. We created debt, but it was good debt because it was a contract. We knew we were getting the money back in a certain amount of time. It wasn't we were just throwing ourselves in the hole. It was very specialized. So I know a lot of people talk about credit being bad because it's debt. You're just putting yourself in the hole, but that's not always the case. So we were able to actually go to the Super Bowl for free because of the fact that we had the available credit to leverage it and ultimately satisfy the money that this person needed. So that's just some cool stuff that we've done, and also things that we help other people do. Like I said, we do teach people when you get a little older, people how to travel for free. We teach them how to create that second source of income and a bunch of other cool stuff. So just wanted to get that out of the way, but now we can kind of transition into the meat, into the potatoes. What is credit? Let's get down to the basics of this. So credit, right? When we talk about that, simply put, the definition is that it's the ability to obtain goods and services prior to having payment, right? So if you think about this, I like to remember a time maybe in high school where, I was at the lunch table and somebody came up to me and they said, "Hey, Josh, can I just, can I borrow some money from you? Like, I'm a little short on cash. My dad didn't give me the money, whatever the case is, right?" And he said, "Oh, can I just have like $20? And if I gave him that $20 bill, I am now trusting my friend that he's going to give me that back in, a reasonable amount of time. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's in a couple days, whatever the case is, right? I am lending him money in the hopes that he's going to pay me back. And why do I trust him, right? And that's what we're going to be getting into is credit is all about trust. What is going to make the bank, what is going to make the lender, what is going to make anybody actually trust that you're going to give the money back? And that's really what credit is about, is being able to take out money without having to pay it back right away, which is the key difference between a debit card and a credit card. A lot of people in here said that they had debit cards, and that is money in your checking account, and it immediately gets taken out. Whereas credit, you put it on a credit card, and it is now your job, your due diligence to actually pay that back. So when we talk about credit, there's 3 national credit bureaus. So when we asked earlier, who knows how many credit bureaus there are, this is actually a trick question. So there are 3 national credit bureaus, which are listed here. You have Experian, you have Equifax, and you have TransUnion. Now, not trying to get too complicated, but there are over 200 credit bureaus. Believe it or not, there's over 200. Most people are only familiar with these three because these are the ones that really matter a lot. And I would not concern yourself with any of those other ones that I don't want to talk about right now. But these are the ones that lenders are going to be using. So the biggest two out of these three are Experian and TransUnion. Those are used most of the time. Equifax is used, but it's not as much. So you definitely want to be aware of that. And really, how is credit used in society, right? I mean, credit cards, obviously, most people are familiar with that. You know, you can get a car, you can get an auto loan. If you want to get a home, then you can get a mortgage. But a few others are going to be, you know, if you're a business owner, or if maybe not yet, maybe you want to be a business owner, then the credit plays a huge role in that. I mean, really, when it comes to business, one of the biggest reasons that, you know, for example, when we were talking about that person we had to come and help and how we ended up going to the Super Bowl, is they operated a business and they did not have the credit. They needed credit to do something and they didn't have it. So they needed to, you know, reach out and find other ways to get the money. But if they just had their credit in the spot that if they needed to, then they would have been able to, you know, just use the bank's money. But other things, when you have insurance, car insurance, this is a big one. Most people don't know this, but when you apply for car insurance, they're going to check your credit. And it's actually pretty substantial. If you do not have good credit, your car insurance rates are going to be higher. This is something that's, you know, unfortunate. You know, most people don't recognize it until they kind of have, you know, an experience where their rates get jacked up or whatever the case is. But it comes into play with insurance. As well as cell phones. If you wanted to, say, get the new iPhone, take out like a 24-month payment plan on it, you know, just make your monthly payment $30 a month or whatever it is, they're going to run your credit for that. If you actually look at the fine print, it says only to those that have, you know, adequate credit. And also for employment. So my previous industry that I worked in was defense. I had to get a security clearance to actually work on the top secret stuff that I was doing in engineering. They had to check my credit before giving me the clearance. So whether you're in public office, you know, if you're trying to be, you know, working for the town or working as a firefighter, even working in defense, all sorts of things, credit comes into play with your employment as well. So it really is used in a wide variety, way more than what it used to be. Back in the 80s and the 90s, it was kind of more, you know, just credit cards and loans. And then now it's really expanded because it really does play an important role. So I
think one way to kind of help you guys relate to really what credit is and the power of it is, see, everyone right now is, at least from, you know, transitioning from high school into college. And so in high school, you get report cards. You can think of credit as your life's report card, and you have different grades, which is, you know, A, B, C, D. And that also could be like an 800, 700, 600, 500. But that report card isn't just a grade that affects you in, you know, a small area of your life. It's actually a report card that lasts your entire life. So you really want to try to hold, you know, just like in school, straight A's are better. Good 700, 800 score is going to do absolutely wonders, even if you only wanted to just have, you know, peace of mind.
Yeah. So with that said, I did want to show you guys kind of a quick study that I had found, and I found it really interesting because I'm sure everybody in here wants to be successful. You know, you want to be both happy in your life. You want to be wealthy. You want to be, you know, a well-rounded person. But, you know, in general, right, you know, one piece of advice that our Father gave us is that if you're ever wondering something, oftentimes you just need to follow where the money is going to lead you to the answer. So this is a study that I had found, and it was an economic study, and it basically tells you that as you increase your wealth, the amount of times that you're using credit versus other things are directly correlated. You can see that when you're, you know, say earning less than $25,000, you're not really using credit at all. You're using almost all cash, or you're using almost all debit. Whereas on the other side, if you're earning more than $200,000 a year, you're using credit, you know, significantly. It's actually something that you're using, you know, 4 out of every 10 occasions. So I just thought this was interesting that the people that are using it in society are those that are successful. And there's a reason for that. And those are all the things that, you know, me and Chris have kind of discovered ourselves throughout our lives. And now we help teach other people the true importance of it. Again, it plays a large role in society. There's a lot of, you know, wealthy individuals that are using credit consistently, and there absolutely are reasons for that. So just kind of wanted to show you guys that just to give you an idea. But now I want to talk about this age-old argument about credit versus cash. If you haven't heard this before, this is something that we get asked all the time. And because most people, or not most people, I would say some people argue that cash is king. You know, if you've ever heard that phrase, cash is king.
How many people have heard that phrase? Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, if you've ever heard cash is king, because that's something that, I mean, I remember growing up, you know, our dad's friends or our mom's friends, you know, people say, oh yeah, you know, never trust banks, you know, don't take out credit cards, you know, cash is what you want. And granted, there are absolutely some places that cash is very, you know, is the right thing to have. But, you know, just to give you an idea, so there'll argue reasons, right? Like you can't be in debt if you only spend what's in your bank account, you know, and I think that, of course, you know, there is some truth to that, right? You can only, you know, be in debt if you're technically spending more than what you have. So, you know, there is some truth to that. And the other thing they say is, you know, credit card companies are evil, right? And they will entice you to overspend. And, you know, I think there is, you know, some moderate truth to that in the sense that they will send you offers, you know, in your emails or something. They'll say, oh, get $50 off Instacart, right? Oh, if you're going to spend $100 on Instacart, we're going to give you $50 off. Okay. But in a way, right, maybe you're already going to spend the money anyways. So you know, this is, that's a whole nother conversation. But, and then the last thing is that the best discounts come from cash, right? Maybe if you've ever heard of people saying, maybe they're booking a wedding or something, and then it's going to be $10,000 if they book it on a credit card, or maybe they just use cash and they say, you know, save $2,000 on that, right? So some people will say, oh, the best discounts come from cash, right? But really, for us, we believe that credit is king. And I'm just going to grab this for 1 second because I had notes.
Here, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, could you just like pull this up?
Yeah.
Because I had like specific things I wanted to mention.
Super awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of students have had the same thing. Laura has heard that term. Vivian has heard that term. Ryan, Calstub heard something similar to that as well. And for those who said they found something similar, feel free to write that phrase that you heard as well too. I feel it's very, I think in different cultures and different areas you hear different things, but I think that's like the same concept stays there. Tanishka has heard it. Bao has heard as well too. It's definitely one thing I've heard a lot.
Yeah, it's the age-old argument, man. I mean, we get this question all the time. So, you know, for us, right, in our opinion, I want to make sure this is clear. This is just our opinion. So please do your own due diligence, you know, create your own, you know, opinion on it as well. But for us, you know, we believe that credit is king, right? So first and foremost, right, you know, there are credit cards that are really centered around money that you are spending already. Right. So, for example, if you're going to the grocery store and spending money, if you're going to the gas station spending money, if you're going out to restaurants, if you're traveling, right, that's money that you're already going to be spending, regardless, whether it's coming out of your checking account, whether it's coming out of your savings account, whether it's just cash in your wallet, you're already going to be spending it. So why not get kind of the most bang for your buck, so to speak, on that money? If I told you that if you spent this, you know, if you spent $100 on groceries and you could get 4% back every single time you spent money at a grocery store, wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, wouldn't that be a real, you know, game changer over time? You know, you spend $10,000 in the course of a year at a grocery store and you get $400 back. You know, and that's just cash. Never mind if you're using points and all that other good stuff. So another reason is that it's, you know, when it comes to businesses, right, for all the future business owners here, you know, it's really important that having money in the bank is great. You know, you want money, but being able to borrow money from the bank is really where so, you know, with that said, for businesses to survive, right, one of the most common reasons they don't survive is because they don't have access to money. So, yes, having money in your bank account is great, but being able to borrow that money is really what's going to allow you to survive the good times, survive the bad times, allow you to reinvest in the business, cover marketing budget, hire people, and just really keep the business afloat if things get tough. So credit plays a big role for businesses. And then lastly, you know, using a credit card instead of a debit card acts as a protection of your money. When you swipe your debit card, you are giving the business. You are giving potentially to people that are trying to steal that information access to your bank account, like to your checking account. When you swipe that debit card, money's coming right out. What happens if somebody gets a hold of that and drains it, right? I was actually speaking to a client a few weeks ago, and they were telling me that they ended up having a situation happen where somebody stole their debit card, drained the bank account, and it took the bank like 2 weeks to actually get the money back after they completed their investigation, right? And that's something that caused this person issues in terms of paying bills on time. They had like an electric bill due and other things like that. And they ended up having some issues because they just, they didn't have all access to their money while this investigation was occurring. So credit, if somebody gets a hold of your credit card and spends a ton of money on it, well, guess what? You're protected. You're protected in that instance, because it's technically the bank's money, not yours. So it's going to immediately get investigated. It's going to be solved very quickly, and no money is going to be taken from your bank account. So that's kind of our argument when it comes to why we believe credit is king. However, just like any argument or discussion, however you want to call it, there is both sides to the coin. So with that said, kind of wanted to transition into a little bit about really what is inside of credit, right? So we've talked a lot high level about what is credit, how it's used in society, who's using it, the credit versus cash. But now I want to talk into a little bit about credit scores versus credit reports, because when it comes to credit, you have these two concepts, and most people focus on the first thing, is your credit score, right? But your credit score is a numerical representation of your credit report. Rather, how our dad used to call it, the most important 3 digits of your entire life. So if your credit score is a representation of your credit report, then wouldn't it make a little bit more sense to focus on the credit report, really understand what's on there, what you need to be paying attention to, and that translates into the score. So we'll get into that in just a second, but just to give you an idea, so credit scores go from 300 to 850. So that's pretty big. You can take a look at this FICO credit score range here. If you're, if you're anywhere from 300 to 650, you're not doing too good. You're going to have, some difficulty getting approved for things. Once you have like a 670, 680, it gets a little bit easier. So you're kind of in that good range. In fact, who here knows, this is a good question, who here knows what the national average is for a credit score? What is the average national, credit score that people have? Drop it in the comments below if you think you know the answer to that while you're looking at this, because we can see after about 740, you're doing really good. You're doing really good after 740. And Chris, you have a pretty good thought on this, right? In terms of what credit score you should be reaching for.
Yeah, so 850 is the A plus of your credit card or of your credit score. And so when I was referring to credit is your life's report card, getting an A plus is what, a 4.2 or
4.0.
Is that is the perfect 4.0, where if you have like an A or an A minus, you're like slightly under the 4.0. Whereas in credit, having an 850 isn't actually any better than having a 750. And the reason for that is once you hit pretty much the 740 to 750 range plus 750 to 850, every single bank is going to look at you the exact same way. So although it might be the goal to hit an 850, it's not actually, it's kind of just bragging rights when you hit it. It's not like you get extra money. It's not like you're going to get an extra good deal. If you just get a 750, you're going to have access to the best interest rates. You're going to get the highest credit card limits. You're going to be able to obtain the best credit cards on the market. You're going to obtain the best auto loans. That is really what you want to aim for. Although obviously, like that saying goes, you want to shoot for the moon. And if you don't hit the moon and you hit Earth, then you're gonna be in a good spot all around.
Yeah. So really, once you get to a 740, 750, you're doing really, really good. Essentially it's just bragging rights from there. But I see some people putting 700, 680, 710, 670. I'm seeing a lot of good answers here because you guys are just about on the mark. Juliet said 600. So as per 2020, the national average for credit scores is actually around 710. I think it's like 709 or 708, somewhere around there, but it's about a 710. So when people say, oh, once you get to a 700, you're good. Well, you're just you're technically average at that point. So we want you guys to be better than average. So how do we get everybody in this chat right now? How do we prepare all of you to be not just average, but better than that? And that comes into play with the next slide when we kind of talk a little bit more about credit score versus credit report part 2. This is where I want to reinforce that credit scores, of course, they're a nice buzzword, but your credit score actually doesn't matter. So we were just talking about national averages, credit score ranges, but all that actually doesn't matter at all. What matters is on your credit report. That's what matters. So we just said that your credit score is derived from what's on your credit report. So we don't want anybody in here to chase a number. We don't want people to oh man, I have to get a 730, I have to get a 740. We don't want people to do that, because if you focus on the report, that is going to lead you to the score that you want. It's going to lead you to that greater average. So let's kind of get into what makes a good credit report, which is on the next slide. And that is going to be the main point that I really hope everybody takes away from this, is what makes a good credit report, because that, again, ultimately leads into the score. So number one, you want perfect payment history. Payment history is just, have you been paying your bills on time or have you not been? You want absolutely perfect payment history. You never want to miss one. From there, you need to have, a thick credit report. Most people think that, oh, if I just get a couple credit cards, I'm going to be fine, which, they're not necessarily wrong. You can get by with only having a couple or a few accounts, but really you want over 10 positive accounts. And right now that might seem like a lot. You may be saying, oh my God, I need to get 10 credit cards. That's not true. And in fact, as you learn a little bit more about credit as you get older, there are a lot of great credit cards that you can get. And it's actually very easy to get 5 to 6 credit cards alone that actually satisfy a bunch of areas of your life. Like I said, credit cards can be used for certain areas, and you'll quickly realize if you're spending money in these various areas, there's a lot of great credit cards that are offered there. And no, you don't have to pay annual fees for all of these either. A lot of these are free to have credit cards. You just sign up, you got to have the credit to be approved. So you really want to work to having over 10 accounts. And again, this is not a race. You don't have to do this all in 1 year. I mean, it took me about 3 years before I got to this 10 account range. So, again, it is a process. And you want to have credit utilization. Right. So credit utilization, that's a fancy way of saying how much money are you spending on your credit cards. You want to have that between 2 to 9%, meaning you don't want to be overspending on your credit card, but you don't want to be having everything be zero either.
So for instance, if you had a $1,000 credit limit, you apply for a credit card, the bank gives you a $1,000 credit limit. Ideally, you don't really want to have any more than $20 to $90 on that card at any given time when it comes to the actual date when it reports to the credit bureau. So yes, you can spend say 300 to 400 or 500. It's the most important thing here is perfect payment history. So as long as you're paying your credit cards down, at least, even if you just pay it down to zero, that is better than trying to necessarily exactly hit 2 to 9%. We're just talking, what is the ultimate goal? 2 to 9% is going to be the goal. But hey, we would rather have people, we help a lot of people all the time, especially people that are brand spanking new. And they, to try to keep it really simple for everyone, paying it off is going to be the most important thing. And so in general, credit is all about trust. And so think of it as if, you borrowed $15 or $20 from your friend and you said, hey man, I'll pay you back next week. Next week comes and he's like, hey, do you have that $20? And you say, yep, here's the $20. Awesome. Oh, awesome, man. A couple weeks later, you ask him for $100. Well, because he already lent you $20 and you paid him back when you said you were going to pay him back, guess what? He's probably going to be a little bit more comfortable giving you $100 and say maybe 3 weeks later, you're going to give him the $100 back. And so when you start stacking up that trust, that's all about lending. So when the bank gives you a credit limit and you are using the credit limit. So you're saying, hey, thanks for letting me have this credit card. You're spending on it, but then you're paying it off in full or paying the balance down. That's going to build significant amount of trust. And so overall, that's really what credit scores are. It's just a general baseline for how trustworthy you are to give you something. Whereas if I let you borrow $20 and then you said you were going to pay me back next week, but you didn't pay me back, but then you wanted to borrow $50, well, then the trust it's not really there because you've already said you were going to do one thing and then you didn't do it on the other.
And that's why this information is very key to how to get the banks and the credit card companies and all those places. How do you get them to trust you the most? How do you get the most trust? And that's what's on your report. So you want to have, as well as having credit cards, you want to have a loan as well. And it has to be an open loan. I know it's kind of weird, but for everyone going to college, maybe a lot of you have student loans. So that actually works. That's actually a way to help build credit.
How many people have student loans that are in here right now?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Yeah. How many people in this stream right now are either planning to take out some student loans or are, or maybe you don't have to have student loans? We'll actually talk about how to handle that in just a little bit. But really, to kind of summarize what Tony, to summarize the credit report is you want to have perfect payment history. You don't want to be overspending on your credit cards. You want to have a mixture of accounts. You want to have loans. You want to have credit cards as well. And you do want to have a thick credit report as well. You want to have a lot of instances of trust, a lot of not only did you borrow money, but you're paying it back. So that's really the report. But it is important to also talk about the credit score a little bit as well, just so you get an understanding of how that's actually calculated from the report. So on the next slide, it kind of gives you the breakdown of that 3-digit number. So it really comes down to 5 parts. First and foremost, you have payment history, 35%. And I want to make that very, I want to emphasize that 35% is payment history, and then also 30% is amounts owed or credit utilization. So between have you been paying on time and how much money are you spending, those two things alone are 2/3 of your entire credit score. And that's really significant. So you want to make sure, again, you have perfect payment history at all times, and then you're not overspending on your cards, because otherwise you're going to be, you're going to be setting yourself back. Because yes, new credit and length of credit history and credit mix, those other 3 parts, yes, they're important, but they're not nearly as significant as the other 2. So some key takeaways is that for amounts owed, that equals credit utilization. It's the same thing. And you want to stay under 10%. So that's what we kind of talked about just a minute ago in terms of how much money are you spending on the card. You want to stay under 10%. You can stay under 30. Staying under 30 is fine, but you really want to be under 10 to be in the best possible position. And then length of history is actually an average. So it's not just a linear timeline where you get a credit card today, it's been 2 years, and then that's 2 years of history, and then you get a second credit card, and then now your history is 2 years and 1 month or whatever. It's not like they're all just getting added together. They're getting added together and then divided. So it's actually really important to start building, in getting a lot of accounts at one time, because that way that average is going to stay high, and it's not going to get really fluctuated when you have one account open for 5 years and then you open 2 other accounts. Well, guess what? That average just tanked. And then lastly, with credit mix, that's just referring to having an open loan and an open credit card as well. So from there, I want to talk about monitoring your score. How do you actually see this thing? So wanted to kind of bring up a couple of options, both free and paid. Obviously, I know a lot of people in here probably don't want to do paid, but figured I'd mention it anyways. But everyone in here is going to want to download the Experian app. That actually is one of the credit bureaus. You just want to download that, create an account. It's completely free. It is going to give you, your FICO score for free. And the FICO score is the one that matters. That's the name of the score that you want to be paying attention to. There is some other scores out there. So for example, Credit Karma will give you a Vantage score. So when we were talking about how the credit report matters more than the score, Credit Karma gives you a credit score, but it's not the one that the banks use. So you only want to be using that to monitor the credit report for both TransUnion and Equifax as well. But Experian, that app is free. Credit Karma is free as well. And that will give you all 3 credit bureaus. You'll be able to see the information on there. And then there's a couple paid ones as well. Experian allows you to pay for it. You get all 3 of the credit bureaus just on that. It's like $25 a month. Again, no need to rush out and pay for that. Maybe a little bit later. And then there's also MyFICO as well. But aside from there, one thing I want to talk about, because I think this is really, really important, is choosing your first credit card. And I'm going to hand that over to Chris.
Yeah. So obviously, when we asked earlier, who has a credit card, I think almost everyone in here pretty much said they don't have a credit card and that they're only using debit. And so the first thing is, like Josh mentioned earlier, you have to be 18 to open credit. So if you're 17 right now, you just got to wait a couple months. And once you're 18, then you can go ahead and open it. And so understanding the concept of trust is really important when it comes to your first credit card, because you have no previous trust, you're basically a ghost to that person. The banks need to, and before giving you a $5,000 or a $10,000 or $20,000 credit limit, they need to trust that you can handle a couple $100s. And so how they do that is through something called secured credit cards, meaning that you say, hey, Mr. Bank, I'd like to open my credit card with you. I'd like to open, start my relationship and start building that trust today. How can we do that? And they say, hey, well, here's a credit card, something like the Discover It. We're going to give you the credit card, but because we don't really know you, we don't really know who you are, we don't really have any relationship with you at all, you have to give us $200 up front as a security deposit. And so that protects the bank because you don't have that trust with them. So essentially, you're going to put $200 or $300 or $400 as collateral in case you decide to go spend on the credit card and then not pay the bank back. They have protection to be able to pay off that balance if it happened. But on the flip side of it, they say, well, hey, after 6, 7, 8, or 9 months of you paying 100% on time, no missed payments, every time you use the card, at the end of the month, you actually pay it off in full. Now we've built up enough trust where we are going to give you the deposit that you put down for the card back to you, and we are going to make it an unsecured credit card. So they're going to essentially say you open a $200 secured card, they'll give you the $200 back to you. They say, okay, awesome. You've proved to us that you can actually handle the credit card, that you're using it, you're paying it on time, things of that nature. And now we're going to actually increase your credit limit to say $400, but you don't have to give us $400. That's just going to be your credit limit that you can go ahead and use.
Yeah. So you have secured cards, which is what Chris said. I started off with a secured card. Chris started off with a secured card.
Which I still have today.
Yeah. Well, it's converted to an unsecured card, like what Chris was saying. After you build some trust, they're going to give you the money back. They're going to make it, unsecured. They're going to turn it into the classic credit card you think of. So for secured cards, we have a couple listed: the Discover It secured and then the TD Bank secured as well. Personally, both of us have the TD Bank one. That's just because we're out of the Northeast. So if you are located in the Northeast, TD Bank is great. You will need to go in branch. Otherwise, the Discover It secured, you can apply for this online. It's great. But here's the thing is everyone in here can also take advantage of student credit cards. So we were just talking about secured cards, which are available to everybody, but then there's student cards that are only available to people that are either in high school. Believe it or not, you can get student cards if you're in high school, if you're 18, and if you're in college, then you can get access to these student cards. So pretty much the only two that I recommend to people, or that me and Chris recommend, are going to be the Discover It Student Cashback and then the Student Chrome. You can go ahead, take a look at those, see which rewards you kind of want to earn. One earns, rotating 5% categories. One of them earns like a set, like 1% or 2% back on everything. I kind of forget the stats on those two, but really, those are the two that you're going to be wanting to look into. So again, if anybody in here is wondering what card they should get, absolutely you want to look into these options and get started. You only need one, by the way. Just pick one card and hang on to it for a year. It's going to serve you best by just picking one, hang on to it for a year, and then start thinking about other cards. So no need to go out and get 2, 3, 5, 6 of these cards or anything like that. But so one half of the equation is getting your first credit card, but the other half is going to be getting your first loan. So for people that don't have student loans, there's actually credit building loans as well. So we were just talking about credit cards. Secured cards are how to kind of build your credit. But the other half of the equation is you need a loan. So just like there are secured cards, there are these installment loans that you can get, such as through Credit Strong, where you can actually pay $15 a month. And it's going to provide that loan information on your credit report, and it's going to help build and establish loan history. So why is that important? Is that, let's just say you just graduated college, you want to go out and get a car. If you don't have any loan history, then when you go to get an auto loan, then you're not going to get the best rate possible. You're going to have to spend a little bit more money every single month on the monthly payments that they give you because you don't have any loan history. You only have credit card history. So you don't want to forget about having a loan on your report. It's going to help you when you, at any point in your life, when you try and actually get something like a house, something like an auto loan, something related to a business that you may start in the future, whatever the case is. So if you don't have a student loan, I think that this is a really, really solid option. Is just go to Credit Strong, get the Subscribe 1000 plan. It's like $15 a month. And when you cancel this in the future, because you just sign up for it, maybe you hang on to it for a year, maybe you hang on to it for 2 years, you actually get half the money back. So it's kind of like a savings account in a weird way. You're helping yourself build credit and you get half the money that you put into it back. So there's a ton of advantages for it. Just kind of wanted to briefly go over that. But once you take care of your credit foundations, right, there really is the fun part of credit.
You want me to take this part?
Yeah.
Okay. So the main thing here is the first 6 months to a year is really the most important piece. Once you get past 1 year of having, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 credit cards, maybe, a couple, 1 or 2 installment loans. Once you get that first year, the first 12 months under your belt, that's really where now at this point, you've built a good amount of trust with at least one bank. And so when other banks, that you go to apply for, say you have the Discover It for a year, you've made perfect payments on it, you use the card. So, it shows that you're using the balance or you're using the credit limit, but then paying it off. When you go and apply for something like the American Express or Chase or Citibank or any other credit union, they're going to see on your report, hey, another bank already put trust in this person and they've done very, very, very well. So you know what? We're going to give trust to this person as well and let them open an account with us. So like I said, the first year is the most important piece. Once you get past that first year, then you can really start exploring some of these other really, really cool credit cards, something like the American Express Platinum. For anyone that ended up following us on Instagram, Josh and I talk a lot about this specific card because it's a staple in how we actually travel. It allows us to get things like when we go to the airport, we can skip the line that people have to wait to stand for security, meaning we can get to the airport and we get through security in 5 or 10 minutes. When we get into the actual airport after security, instead of having to go sit in like some uncomfortable chairs or wait or have to buy food or buy drinks, we can just go to a lounge that has free food. I know you guys are not old enough yet, so the free alcohol is not quite there for a couple years. But when you guys are a little bit older, you guys will have access to that. Some of the lounges have things like sleeping pods, so you can take a nap in them. They have, everything's free, better Wi-Fi in there. They have all sorts of different snacks. Some of them have massages that you can get for free. And so it's all about making your travel experience better. And that credit card, the American Express Platinum, is a key piece to that. And so then you also have, Chase Bank. And so Chase also has a plethora of very, very good credit cards. So for instance, people that spend a lot of money on Amazon, they have an Amazon co-branded credit card that allows you to earn 5% cash back on all the money you're spending. And so I don't know if you guys are like me, but I spend an absurd amount of money through Amazon every single year. And so if you're already going to spend the money, if you were already going to spend the money on a debit card, putting it on a credit card that gives you that cash back or gives you points that you can otherwise use those points to get excise value out of them, that's really where a lot of these other credit cards come into play.
And you don't really get access to those credit cards unless you have the foundation. So that's the biggest part here, is that we want everybody to get to that fun part where you're getting the big banks, right? You got to start with the little guys. You got to start with Discover. You got to start with TD Bank or Credit Union. But then you can graduate and you can get access to American Express, Chase, Citi, and that's where you learn to travel for free. That's when you get huge credit lines. I'm talking $10,000 or more, and a lot of discounts on your everyday spend. Because again, those credit cards that you get access to once you graduate from your foundation, a lot of great rewards. It's how me and Chris are able to do a lot of the stuff that we do. So there is something you're working towards. You just can't go right out of the gate and get the American Express Platinum.
Give the story about spring break when you were in college. So like not paying for. So as you guys go into college, spring break is obviously one of the biggest times of the year where everybody travels, usually somewhere nice and warm or tropical and things of that nature. And so I know when Josh was in college, he wasn't working because he was in college the whole time. He barely had it, at the time. I think he got his first credit card exactly about 18. So about, 19 and a half, he had that year and a half under his belt where he started to be able to apply for these other credit cards.
Well, wait, I want to reset that because you're halfway there. I actually got my first credit card when I was 19. Then by the time I was 20, it was around spring break. I ended up signing up for one of these credit cards right here, that blue one that you see kind of in like the right below like that black Chase. It's basically the Chase Sapphire card is the one that I signed up for. I was able to hit a sign up bonus, get a lot of credit card points, and basically go on my trip for free. Because again, I did not have money to spend on that in college. So there's a lot of great stuff you can do with kind of that fun part of credit. But aside from there, that's why it's so important to get your first credit card now, so then you can work up and get access to these to a lot of great credit cards kind of in the future there. But aside from there, I know that we've kind of been rambling a lot. Went a little further.
Are you guys sleeping?
What?
Yeah, did you guys fall asleep in the chat? I know we if you're awake, just put like a thumbs up.
Yeah, because we're gonna be wrapping this up, and then we'll do a little Q&A. So we're just, as far as personal finance tips, right? Because I don't want anybody in here to ultimately put themselves into a bad situation. So here's just some tips that we came up with that we really want everyone in here to kind of, be mindful of and to ensure that you don't end up putting yourself again in that bad situation. So one of the best things you can do is open a savings account right now, drop $500 into it, and just never touch that money, right? And if you never touch the money, then every time you open a credit card, right, you have this minimum payment that you have to make regardless. Let's just say you spend $100 on your credit card. You don't actually owe the entire $100 at the end of the month. You can make what's called the minimum payment, which is normally about $35 across the board, whether you've spent $50, whether you've spent $500,000. There's kind of a minimum payment that you can make, and it's pretty small. It's normally about 30 or 35 bucks. And you always need to make this minimum payment in order to actually create positive payment history. So if you drop $500 into a savings account and you set automatic withdrawals and link it to that savings account, then let's just say you forget to make the payment. Let's just say you're traveling, you forget that you have a payment due, and you end up missing a payment. Well, you can avoid that by having this backdoor method, so to speak. In terms of, it's really just a safety net.
It's a safety net.
Yeah, all it is if you forget to make your payment yourself, then this comes in and kind of saves the day. So this is something that I do myself. I have minimum payments set for automatic withdrawal in case I forget to make a payment myself on all of my cards. I do have the savings account linked up to all of those, right? The other thing is that for every credit card you get, you want to divide the limit by 3 and treat that as your credit limit. So if you apply for a credit card, you get $1,000. Divide it by 3, call it $300. That's your credit limit. If you don't spend more than 300, then you're not going to be putting yourself into as worse of a shape, both from a credit score standpoint and from a personal finance standpoint, because you're not maxing your credit cards out. Another good one is that you just treat your credit card like a debit card. A lot of people said they have debit cards. If you just treat your credit card like a debit card, don't spend more than what you have in your bank account, then you'll also be pretty good. Don't get store credit cards. If you go out shopping, you go to Banana Republic or you go to Macy's or something, and you have like $200 or $300 worth of clothes, and they say, oh, well, if you sign up for this credit card, we'll give you 20% off. Don't do that. Like, it's not worth it. It actually has a negative effect over time if you do that too much. So you really want to stay away from store cards. You can get them if you really are spending consistently at the store. So for example, our dad, he has a construction company, so he spends a lot at Home Depot. He has a Home Depot store credit card because he's constantly spending money at Home Depot for the business. So that makes sense, but those random ones that give you 20% off one time, just trust me, it's not worth it. And then a couple fun ones that I remember really, really helped me out is that when you go out to the bar, just leave the credit card at home. Don't take it out if you're going to be putting yourself if you're at a party or something and you might be, susceptible to spending money. Just leave it at home if you don't trust that you'll be responsible with it. And lastly, if you end up, finding that love of your life in college and you're having a great time and it's their birthday or it's a celebration of some kind and it's coming up, don't treat your credit card like a checking account where you go out and just overspend on the card to try and give them like a good experience or something. It's really just not worth it. Always be mindful that it is your responsibility to pay all that money back. So with that said, we're just going to wrap it up with some conclusions, some major takeaways in case anybody did fall asleep during this presentation. Just joking there. So really, credit is used for a lot of stuff in the U.S., right? From employment to credit cards, it's going to come up in your life. So whether or not you like it or not doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay attention to it, because again, it's gonna come up. It's gonna be something. And we talk to people all walks of life that never paid attention to it in college, or maybe they got their first credit card but just ignored it, and then they didn't pay their bills on time and they messed stuff up. You don't want to be that person. It's gonna come up. Just start paying attention to it now. Do the simple things you need to do. And that's why, we mentioned earlier, the credit report is more important than your score. We don't want people chasing a score. If you just focus on building the report the right way, get your first credit card, make sure you have a loan, learn how to monitor your credit so then you can kind of watch it grow. That's going to be much better off for you. There are different credit scores that exist. And FICO is the one that lenders use. So if you're ever looking at a credit score, make sure it's a FICO score and not a Vantage score or not a, some other credit score that exists out there. Make sure it's a FICO. And then if you're not 18 yet, or if you are 18, just get your first credit card, whether it's a secured card or a student card. You really just want to get one. Even if you don't plan to spend money on it, get the card, put a Netflix subscription on it, put the Spotify subscription on it, and then just throw it in your drawer. And then just set automatic payments. So then every single month, it charges the $5 or the $10 for Spotify or whatever, and then it just pays it off. Even if you just do that for 2 years, you are going to be in a much better spot than if you did not do that. So just please get your first credit card as soon as possible. Don't forget about loans either. If you're not taking out student loans, consider getting something like Credit Strong to kind of pick up the weight there.
Auto loans work as well. So if you don't have student loans, but maybe you got a car and you have a loan on that car, that would also be a really good loan as a replacement for student loans or other sort of loans.
Yeah, and then a couple more things is ask your parents to add you to one of their cards. You really want to try and help yourself out. If they have a credit card, they've had it for 10 years, and they add you to that card. well, now all of a sudden you look like you've had a credit card for 10 years. It actually does a lot of really good stuff. And lastly, it's not a race, right? We want everyone to make sure that you're not just rushing out trying to rush this process. You want to take your time, start early. So then when you're ready to start using your credit the way that maybe we use it, when you want to start getting access to those really high top tier credit cards, when you want to start, starting a business and all these other really cool things, you don't want to try and put it all together in 6 months because it's not going to work. So the sooner you start, the better it's going to be. Lastly, from there, that's kind of the major wrap up for us. We just kind of wanted to give you guys a thank you for tuning into this. I know that we definitely went a little over the time limit that we initially thought, but it's been a lot of fun. This is something that, we had talked about with Tony a while ago about doing, and we're really glad we were able to put it together, just kind of giving everyone in here just kind of our overview of credit, teaching you guys what we feel was most important, understanding it, all those other good things. So don't be a stranger. Shoot us a follow on social media. Feel free to, hit us in the DMs on Instagram and say, hey, I'm from Tony's live stream. I had this other question or whatever the case is. That would just be greatly appreciated.
Super amazing session. I learned a lot myself. Also, just watching as well too. How much time do you guys have for Q&A, or if you guys do have time or not?
We got like 15 minutes or so.
Perfect. Me too. So let's just go ahead and go through a few questions that a few folks wrote throughout the event. First one, Laura asked, is there anything we need to have to get a credit card?
So the only thing that you absolutely need is a social security number. You do need a social security number. If you do have one and you're 18 years old, then you're pretty much going to be good to go from there. As this is assuming you are starting out and you don't have negative stuff already on your report. So if you have a social security number, you're 18 years old, then you should be good to get your first credit card. Like we said, the Discover It secured card that will require at least $200 to open that account. Or if you are a student, which I believe most people in here are, either high school or college, then you're going to be able to tap into those student cards as well.
Super awesome. Next question from Calstub. Can you repeat how the collateral system works between secured and unsecured cards again? I don't think I understood that part.
Yeah, I know, Chris. I think you went a little technical there. So when people think of credit cards, right, we talked earlier about how credit is an extension of someone's ability to borrow money and then pay it back later. So when I say secured, if you borrow the money and there's no collateral, then it is an unsecured line of credit, meaning there's nothing that the person has. There's no money in a bank account. There's no car that they have in their possession or something. There's no way that if you don't pay them back, then that person's going to get the money back. So secured is a term that's used when you're building credit, because is what you'll do is you'll put $200 into an account, and then they'll give you a $200 credit card. So then that way, if you spend all of the money on the card, if you spend all $200 and you don't pay it back, then they have this money in this account that you've already given them. You've already given the $200 to them. They've just locked it up. They've locked it in a savings account that you can't touch. So then if you don't pay them back yourself, then they're just going to take the money from the account and then cover the loss. So they do that because they want to build trust with you. They want to give you a credit card, have you spend money, pay it back, spend money, pay it back. But in the event that you don't, they want to be protected. So you can start with secured. That's, again, how me and Chris both started, with secured cards.
And that's actually the link that Coach Tony just dropped into the comment section is for the Discover It card, which is probably our highest recommended card for beginners across the board, or first credit card to open. So by clicking that link, you can actually see if you're pre-approved for the card without negatively impacting your report. And it actually has rewards attached to it. So you can pick like cash back or travel rewards, and essentially get your first card open.
Yeah. So it will graduate. That card will graduate in about 6 months into an unsecured card. They'll give you the money that you've stored away in that little account for 6 months or 7 months. They'll give you that money back. And now you have a regular credit card. Now there's no collateral. There's nothing that the bank has other than the trust that you've built. And that's really the traditional credit card. That's the unsecured thing. So I do hope that kind of answers that question again.
Super
For
awesome.
everyone maybe who's wondering.
Really good question in here about will you be charged interest even if you pay your credit card in full? This is a really interesting question because one of the biggest negatives that people always talk about with credit is, oh, the interest is high. You're going to get, destroyed in interest. If you're paying the bill in full at the end of every month, you will never have to worry about interest. It doesn't matter if that interest rate is 10% or 100%. And that's why we really stress, especially in the beginning, is just to build the habit of buying something and paying it off in full. Buying something and paying it off in full. Because once you really understand the basics and you're very confident that you're able to do that repetitively for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, you can always add things on to make it a little bit more advanced, but there's no reason to make it very tricky. And especially just making sure that you're paying it off in full. You'll never have to worry about interest in your life.
And the other thing I want to mention here, I'll go over this briefly. So the way credit cards work is it's a billing cycle. So it's like 30 days. Think about you have a 30-day window where you're spending money. Then it gets to the end of that period. It's day 30. Boom, cuts off. Now a new cycle begins. Is what happens is those 30 days that you were spending money, let's say you spent $100 in the month of April. That money you spent in April is not due until May. And it's actually going to be due roughly 3 weeks or so on average, about 3 weeks after the end of that cycle. So you spent all your money in April, you spent $100, and then the third week in May is when that money is due. That is how you can avoid interest, is if you pay off what's called your statement balance. So you don't have to pay the entire credit card off, because let's just say you spent $50 in May. Well, that $50 is not going to be due until June. But what is due is the $100 that you spent in April. So that's also a little bit more technical in terms of how credit cards are working. We have a great video on Instagram that explains this. So if you want a link to that, drop a comment, and then we will try and link that directly so you guys can understand a little bit more about billing cycles and how that all works to avoid interest. Because it's kind of confusing. So that's why we broke it down on a whiteboard. It's very detailed.
I'm gonna sneak in real fast. I think a quick follow-up question for myself. So
Okay.
when that statement cycle, is that when the credit gets reported in a sense to the credit bureaus?
Yes.
That
So you have
that date.
3 important dates. You have your minimum payment due date, your statement closing date, and then your credit reporting date. So typically those are all around the same time, usually like 2 or 3 days in like a window. It's like your payment's due, then the statement closes, and then like maybe a day or two later, boom, it reports to the credit bureaus.
Perfect. Awesome.
Just sent you the links. So that's the direct link to the direct video where we break down. Josh has a whiteboard and he breaks down those exact dates in a very easy to understand.
Yeah, and I visualize it with a calendar. It's, yeah.
Awesome.
So we
Next question we have is from Bao. Can we, as students, when we turn 18, get a rebate credit card, or is that something for later?
So that's a great question. So rebate credit card, that's just earning cash back or earning a reward from the money that you spend. So the couple cards that we mentioned earlier, the Discover It Secured, that actually does give you 1% back on everything that you spend. And after the first year, they're going to match that money. So it's actually 2% back at basically everywhere you're spending money, whether it's, again, going out to the store, going out places, just, going on the internet, buying stuff, whatever it is, right? You can get cash back or rebate cards, as you call them. You can get those right now. You just have to make sure that, again, that's why we gave you guys the best possible options to start building right now, because there are a ton of choices. If you just start searching first credit card, there's a lot of credit cards out there that don't give you any rewards. We love rewards. We're all about that. We talk about it constantly. So we wanted to make sure we tailored our recommendations for those that actually give you rewards. So check out the Discover It Secured. Check out the student version of the Discover card if you want. Both of those, every recommendation we gave gives you some rebate.
Awesome. I think my quick 2 cents on that as well too. I think there's no need to make life harder than it is for a lot of students. I think a lot of students try to find the most complicated solution to everything as well too, and that's kind of why I'm bringing all these experts, right? You guys are asked about credit. Here's the top credit people in the whole industry. Just listen to what they say. I don't question anything because they're the experts, right? Same thing. You guys come to me for college admissions. I say do this. Don't ask why. Just do what you gotta do as well too. So I think the biggest takeaway from like all the experts I bring in, they're experts for a reason, kind of thing. So trust them. I work with them as well too. They're helping me right now. So I only go to the best. You guys know that as well. So I always bring the best guests on only. So I just listen and then I say yes. When they tell me to jump, I always ask how high all the time.
And then so I see Ryan here asked, do banks judge business loans differently from personal loans? So in the terms of the judgment of it, one, business loans have the potential to end up on your personal credit report. And then I don't want to get too deep into this because that's on business credit, but a business loan may not even wind up on your credit report at all, which means that if you have a business loan that's not on your credit report, then it is judged differently because a personal loan will be on your credit report. So assuming both things are on your credit report, let's just say that's the scenario, then it also does depend on the amount. It depends how long you've been paying them back. It depends on if you've been paying them back on time. So there's a lot of things that play into it. But in general, everything is related to what you're going after, right? If you have a business loan and a personal loan and you're going after more loans, then that's going to be different than if you have those couple products and now you're going after credit cards. So it does depend what thing you're trying to apply for. And it also depends on, what your relationship has been with that product itself. So business loans are somewhat different than personal loans, but overall, banks do judge loans in general relatively the same. Like, I don't want to get too complicated with it, but basically, the same.
Awesome. I think we have one last quick question, unless anyone wants to squeeze in. But Nikhil is asking, how much does one missed payment mess up your score?
This is a great question. I love this this question here because we stressed how important it is to just make sure that on-time payment is at least every single month. And the reason for that is one single missed payment, one oops, I missed the payment. It doesn't matter if this is 6 months into your history, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. If you miss one payment, it's not a slap on the wrist. Your score could drop easily 70 to 100 points. You could go from having a great 750 credit score and immediately drop down into the 650s for having that one mistake. And so that's, unfortunately, it takes time in repetition to build good credit. And it's not necessarily hard, but the banks will punish you very, very heavily if you mess up once. So that's where having things like auto payment just as a safety net to just make sure that you're not missing a payment. Even if you end up paying a little bit of interest is a lot less of a negative impact than having a missed payment. And
and I would say it's like 1,000 attaboys. This is something our dad always used to say. 1,000 attaboys, meaning like you pay 1,000 payments on time, can be wiped out by one oops. I was late on my payment. And all of a sudden, credit score goes down. It's not good. So that's why you want to do everything in your power to avoid missing a payment. And one thing I will say is, even if you are late on your payment, you don't actually have a missed payment get reported onto your credit report until you are 30 days late. So even if you are a week late, even if you are 2 weeks late, and this has happened, believe it or not, to both me and Chris, before we implemented the strategies that we've talked about, I have been late on my payment before. It's happened, a couple times. It's not good, but I caught it. I caught it early enough to be able to make the payment and avoid having it get reported onto my credit report, because it was not 30 days late. It was only a week late. It was only 7 days late. So that's also something to keep in mind as far as how credit kind of operates. But in general, for banks and relationships and things like that, you don't want to have late payments or anything like that.
Awesome. we have
Oh.
one. I think this is an awesome final question, just because I
Yes.
think a lot of high school students can definitely benefit from this question as well too. What are some top tips on how to maximize your score as a teenager under 18, though?
So the best thing that you could possibly do is talk to your parents, talk to your mom, your dad, and ask them to add you to one of their credit cards. Now, there are a couple stipulations. You don't want to get added to any credit card. You want to make sure, number one, they have never missed a payment on that credit card. And then number two, you don't want to be added to a credit card that they have maxed out, that they have spent a ton of money on and are maybe actively paying down, because that's not going to be the best. But overall, if you're not 18 yet, the best thing you can do is get added to your parents' credit card and just have a conversation with them.
It's no risk. It's zero risk to them. You're going to get, when they add you as an authorized user, it doesn't mess their credit up. It doesn't cost them money. There's absolutely zero risk to them, and there's a ton of helpful benefits to you.
So just tell them when they get the credit card in the mail that has your name on it because they added you to the credit card, tell them, chop it up. Take some scissors, cut it up, tell them to put it in the trash. You never even need to spend on this credit card. You just need to be added to it. And that's a really, really powerful benefit, something both me and Chris also take advantage of. Our mom has added us to a couple credit cards. We do not use them. I've never even seen them. We told her just chop it up right when she got it, but it has significantly helped boost our credit because we have really good credit, but we're also, we're not 40, 50 years old. She's had credit history for way longer than me and Chris have. So that's really a big benefit you can take advantage of. But
Super awesome. I think that's it. That's amazing. I took a lot of notes myself. I think it's one of the topics. I know with a lot of stuff I teach, like it's useful till senior year in high school, and that's kind of it. Like, and then they kind of move on. But I think what you guys are teaching, literally, like especially with the majority of students here in high school, so it's like fundamental skills that they can apply in college, after college, and basically the rest of their life. I think what you're teaching today is like super valuable. I hope everyone took lots of notes as well too. Do you guys have anything closing thoughts, closing words for this event?
I mean, last thing is I'm going to reiterate, please follow us on social media. Don't be a stranger. If you have, additional questions that come up, we do check our DMs and answer them as much as we can. We do get a lot of them, as you could imagine, from people, all walks of life, people that are older, people that are younger, under 18, over 18, Canadians, all sorts of people. So don't be a stranger. We're here to help. We post a lot of stuff for free on our social media, both TikTok and Instagram. So please check us out there. And it really has been a blast. I really hope everybody did learn a thing or two about credit, really starting to understand how much it plays into your life. I mean, brief story. I realized how much I needed a credit, or how credit was important when I was 19 years old. I was taking my girlfriend at the time on a trip to Canada, and I went to book a hotel and could not book the hotel without a credit card. So I had to ask my mom to use her credit card to book this hotel, even though I had money in my bank account. Like I had a job at the time, and I just felt so embarrassed, So then right after there, I was like, that's it. Nah, I'm not doing this again. I went out, got my first credit card, and it's been a great experience ever since then. So just to avoid any future potential issues with not having a credit card, really hope everybody does end up and go get their first card.
That's good.
Super awesome. Cool. And with that, anything you want to share also?
No, that's
yeah, I think I just covered it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Cool. And because you guys stuck around to the very end as well, to final giveaway for you all, another giveaway opportunity for those amazing students who stayed back, right? $100 giveaway now. We're doubling it up right now as well too. You got 2 days, right? From the comments, it looked like everyone's loving this event. Thank you. So many thank yous throughout the event as well too. I think earlier Sophia said it's like a bunch of knowledge bombs here. Knowledge bombs being dropped the entire event as well too. So if you learned anything, maybe even one thing, I'm sure it's going to help you rest of your life. If you can do me a quick favor, or to enter the giveaway, a quick 10 to 20 selfie video of what you thought of the presentation, what you learned, and what you thought of the Credit Brothers as well too. Feel free to email me that video by Monday. And on Tuesday I'll go live upon Instagram, and then I'll give away one lucky winner who sends that $100 as well too. And Lynn, you won earlier today, so email me after for your $50 giveaway as well too. With that, it's been an amazing time. Thank you, the Credit Brothers. One more time, here's the handles. You want to follow them at the Credit Brothers on both TikTok and Instagram as well too. Thank you guys, and thank you everyone for joining. I'll see everyone in the next event.